Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The Rangers beat the Detroit Red Wings 4-3 in Detroit. Rangers just keep on winning. And tonight was just production from different sources. So really the fourth line is the story of this one. Barclay Goodrow scores 2 goals. So, he'd only had 1 goal in the first however many games it was. I mean, just a lot of games. He had 1 goal in probably about 70 plus games. And now he has, 3 goals in his last 4 games, but 2 goals tonight. He's been a little bit better lately, but the fourth line as a whole was good. Goodrow, and then also Brodzinski gets 2 assists and Vesey gets 2 assists. And then also the third line scored. Will Cooley had a goal. So not a whole lot going on from the top 2 lines. The Chris Kreider does get the game-winning power play goal, so the power play does cash in. But a rare quiet night from the Trocheck line, and they're entitled to that. We don't see enough from the Zibanejad line. Again, in terms of offensive production, even strength-wise, sometimes you don't even know that they're there, and that's not anything new. But this is a huge game for Detroit, really, really important. And the Rangers won, and the Rangers played well. Jonathan Quick was in net, and Quick was pretty good. He, like I've said with him, he's a lot different than Igor. The way their styles of play is very different. Quick is very active, a lot of movement, old school type goalie. Where Igor went, especially when Igor is good, is more calm, kind of more smooth side to side. Quick, not so much, but he makes a lot of Quick makes a lot of really good acrobatic saves, and was definitely a positive factor in the win. But I thought both teams. This was a pretty even game, I would call it, and the Rangers they find ways to win. Their record is really good. I don't know I don't have it on hand exactly what it is, but tied when going to the third. It's an excellent, excellent record. Somewhere along the lines of probably like 10-1-1, somewhere within that range. Take away maybe a win and a loss. But the Rangers, this is the first time going to Detroit this season. This could be a potential playoff preview, although with the Rangers beating Detroit, it kind of decreases those chances. This Eastern wildcard race and the third Metro spot, those 2 spots, just no one wants to take advantage of it, to the point where you have Pittsburgh still very alive in it. The Islanders are right in the thick of it. And a team like Buffalo, who it's too little too late. Like even they're not even completely done. I mean, they pretty much are. Like I would kind of cut it off after Pittsburgh, but yeah, just these teams just continue to lose, Detroit included. And Detroit still might find their way in, but this was a big loss for them. It was Alex Lyon in net for the Red Wings. And, shots on goal through 3 periods, all on the high side for like both teams. Rangers outshot the Red Wings 38-34 in this game. But, the Red Wings, this is going to be a pretty good team, I think, in the future years. And if you think about expectations going into the season, they've exceeded them, I would say. In terms of prognostications, maybe some had them as cracking one of the final few spots, but they probably overachieved for a while. I think that's the case. They haven't been so good at home. They've been actually better on the road, relatively speaking. So, but the Rangers, like in a game that is important to them, but not overly so, they are ahead of the Carolina Hurricanes by 5 points. And same games played. So in a decent spot with 5 games to go. And the real race for me is Rangers versus Boston. Rangers are 3 points ahead of Boston, same games. So 5 out of Carolina, 3 ahead of Boston, 5 games to go. And the President's Trophy, that's another thing. And I think Dallas will be the main competition there. But for the Rangers, it's just keep it moving forward and just not only winning the division is important, winning the conference is almost paramount, because the difference between, let's say, Tampa, who you'd probably play, and any of these other teams I mentioned is just drastic. Do I think we can beat Tampa? Absolutely. But the difference, and there's something to be said with how you win a series as well. Because I think what's hurt the Rangers in years past is that they have to grind it out so much early on, and they run out of gas by the end. So I think winning the conference has to be the priority even more than just the division. And with 5 games to go, the Rangers are in position to do so, but we'll see what happens. They'll have a couple games versus a very desperate Islander team. I'm very curious to see how those games go. Rangers were definitely the better team against the Islanders last time around. But as far as Detroit was concerned, they had their scoring chances in this game. And really, both power plays went 1 for 3. Not a whole lot separating it. It's just the Rangers were able – the responses by the Rangers are great. Now, both teams responded pretty quickly. Detroit scored right at the Rangers' first goal, and then the Rangers scored right after Detroit's third goal. The Rangers – they are very – when the Rangers are trailing, they're just pretty damn good. And they may not be trailing for long, but they are able to come back. And there's just no quit in this team. And so all the intangibles are there. As far as the lineup, Rempe out. So tough thing for Matt Rempe, right? He plays versus the Devils, gets into a fight, gets ejected immediately in a fight that he knew was coming. And now he's out of the lineup. But Jonny Brodzinski was good in this game, and I think that if you're going to have Brodzinski lineup, I do prefer this. I think Cooley, Wenberg, Kakko is preferable. I know that Brodzinski had some success on that line, but I would prefer Cooley not with Goodrow and Vesey and with Kakko and Wenberg. So this is basically your lineup because I think Rempe is your 13th forward. He is. And I think that he could find his way into some games if they need a spark, need something, depending on the opponent maybe, but I think Brodzinski does have that edge over him. And Brodzinski does frustrate me. In a perfect situation for me, he would be more of your 13th forward, and really on this team, he's within that top 12 of forwards. He just is. I think they trust him more than Rempe, and I understand why. There is some versatility to his game, and this was a good game for him. The defense, no Zach Jones again. Miller Trouba, it's still not great. And Trouba took a pretty bad penalty that would have really pissed me off if it was an important game. And not to say this was an important game, but if this was a playoff game and he did that up by 1 late, just a needless high sticking penalty, I would have been furious. And I do think that things like that will happen. Prepare yourselves for that to happen. But, it was Trouba's basically his third game back. Because I'm not going to count that last game. Obviously, he played 2 seconds, but it was an improvement for Trouba. But it's just, I noticed he'll make a play where he'll retrieve a puck and then he'll just rim it around and turn it right back over. So even when he makes the initial good play, he'll fuck it up almost immediately. But we're not going to bash Trouba here. He was a +1, but really, you got to it's tough because you want to make sure Fox is fresh for the playoffs. But once you get there, you got to be feeding him minutes. I mean, he is playing very, very, very well right now. So let's jump into it. First period, Rangers get on the board first. Will Cooley scores his 13th goal of the season unassisted. And for Cooley, it's just there's a lot to like there. I've been very pro Will Cooley, and I think that while I think that his style of play will do well in the playoffs, it's a matter of him just keeping up and just it's a long season. This is his first full NHL season. And so, can he kind of keep up just from a stamina standpoint? But I think that he can. I think he's, for a young player, he's responsible enough on both sides of the puck. So Rangers take 1-0 lead on that Cooley goal. Bad turnover by Detroit, and Cooley with a quick shot past Alex Lyon. Then former Ranger Andrew Kopp ties it up. His 13th goal of the season from Veleno and Seider at 7-11. So a play where it gets a little bit scrambly. I think Gustafson and Schneider were on for this, but it goes to Jack Roslovic in front, and he's not able to kind of hold it. And then Andrew Kopp quickly backhands it 5-hole past Jonathan Quick. So not a great defensive sequence. And for Jack Roslovic, I want to see more from him. I want to see more. You see flashes, and they can still win with Roslovic where he is, but I think there's more to be had there, and hopefully he is a streaky player. I think that there's more there for Roslovic, and I think he's been just a little bit underwhelming, even knowing that he was not really, I think, plan A, B, or even C, and that's kind of what the cost was so low to get Roslovic. So 1-1 there. Then you get some penalties at 9:38. Barclay Goodrow and Robbie Fabry go at it. This was after Fabry was called for a penalty. I'm kind of surprised they weren't called for a fight. I kind of thought it was going to be 5 minutes, but they don't go that way. It's 2 minutes apiece. Rangers get a power play. They don't score on it. Then Detroit gets a power play. Kakko hooks JT Compher at 12:19. And Rangers kill this off. So we go later in the first period. In a late first period goal for the Rangers, it's the fourth line. Goodrow scores his third goal of the season from Brodzinski and Vesey. So a face-off that was kind of just won as a unit by the three of them. Brodzinski was the one that technically took the draw, I believe, and Goodrow is able to kind of wrist it by line. So makes it 2-1, a pretty big goal at the end of the second. At the end of the first. But a quick, I didn't mention this as far as response, but this was by game time a quick response. At 1:24 of the second, so less than 2 minutes later of game action, JT Compher scores his 17th goal of the season from Petrie and Perron. So that makes it 2-2 right there. And later on, you have at 5:54, Jeff Petrie cross-checks Will Cooley. Ranger power play doesn't score there. Then at 13:04, Eric Gustafsson hooks Dylan Larkin, and this would prove costly as 15 seconds into that power play, Dylan Larkin scores his 30th goal of the season from Perron and Gostisbehere. So this was one that rings off the post. Quick couldn't really locate it, and Larkin is able to kind of get to the puck and fire it in with kind of no one there to attend for kind of the vacated net. So that makes it 3-2 Detroit, but 25 seconds later, the fourth line scores again. Goodrow, his second goal of the night, fourth of the season from Vesey and Brodzinski. So pretty big goal again for Goodrow. And it was a play where Brodzinski kind of just, Vesey gives it to Brodzinski. Brodzinski just kind of flings it towards the net, and Goodrow kind of off the goalie rebound ties it up at 3. So we go to the third, and pretty slow-moving beginning to the third period. A lot of play stoppages. Eventually, you get a penalty by David Perron. High sticks Keandre Miller at 9:29 in the Ranger power play. If you give him enough chances, they're going to strike. And it's Chris Kreider who, that's where he makes, that's where he makes a lot of the money is on that power play right in front of the net. It's his 37th goal of the season from Zibanejad and Panarin. So Zibanejad kind of slyly doesn't put all of it on his slap shot and gets to Kreider in the right spot, and he's able to bury it. And it gives the Rangers a 4-3 lead. And there was a Ranger penalty at 13-14, the one I said true, but just a bad high-sticking penalty. He high-sticks Gostisbehere, but the Ranger penalty kill does the job. They kill it off. And the 6-on-5, Red Wings had chances. Patrick Kane had a really good opportunity and decided to pass it. He probably should have shot it. I understand why he went for the pass, but Rangers hold on for the win. Jonathan Quick gets the W. They win 4-3 in Detroit. So Rangers improve their record to 52-21-4. So 108 points through 77 games. Like I said, 5 points ahead of Carolina for the division, 3 points ahead of Boston for the conference, and 3 points ahead of Dallas for the overall league lead. But Dallas has a game in hand. So Dallas is really very close to the Rangers, and then Boston, and then Carolina. And then there's some other teams as well included in there. I got to mention Vancouver and Colorado, but less interested in them as their Western Conference teams. So now the Rangers' next game will be against the Montreal Canadiens on Sunday, and Montreal will be playing the night before. So they'll get Montreal in the second game of back-to-back. For the Rangers, what will be interesting here is the motivation going against a team that doesn't have anything going on. Montreal's not making the playoffs. So what comes of this? And the Rangers lost at Montreal in the shootout on January 6th. They beat the Canadiens at MSG on February 15th. So it's the second meeting in MSG. And I'd almost expect something. If the Rangers were to win, I'm almost expecting kind of that high scoring, maybe not a whole lot of defense, not so much structure, but the Rangers just based on pure skill can get by. And they might face a somewhat tired Montreal team that plays the night before, I believe, at the Maple Leafs is the matchup. No, it's home against the Leafs. But either way, they'll be playing against a good Leaf team. So, 5 games to go. Rangers find a way. Fourth line gets it done. 2 goals for Barclay Goodrow. Rangers go to Detroit and beat them 4-3.